All right, this is chapter 1, lesson 4, powers of monomials. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about powers of monomials. So when we're expanding products rule, okay? So basically all that means is I'm taking this m out here, right? And I'm multiplying it and into the parentheses, so I'm distributing it. So it becomes a to the mth times b to the mth, okay? So for example, if I have 2a cubed and then all of that is squared, I can break this down because there's 2 of them, right? So I can have 2a cubed times 2a cubed, which is the same thing as saying this, which gives me 2 times 2 times a cubed, which gives me 4a to the 6th. Okay, so really all I'm saying is take 2 and square it. So 2 squared gives me the 4. I'm taking a cubed and I'm squaring that. Well, 3 times 2 gives me 6. So 4 times a to the 6 equals 4a to the 6. So I get the same answer. You can do it either way, whichever way works best for you. This is kind of a little bit of a shortcut though, okay? So we can also talk about power of powers. So basically we did a little bit of that over on the first example I showed you. But this is a to the m to the nth power. Basically all you're doing is you're multiplying the exponents together, okay? So 2 cubed to the 4th is really like saying 2 times 3 to the 4th, which is 2 to the 12th. N squared to the 4th is really saying n to the 2 times 4th power. So you get n to the 8th. Okay? So I've got two problems down here let's look at. So the first one is 3a squared to the 5th, okay? So remember we can multiply it out the long way. We can do 3a squared, 3a squared, 3a squared, 3a squared, 3a squared. There's 5 of them. That's where I get the 5 from. Multiply it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, which is 3 to the 5th. And then I have a squared, a squared, a squared, a squared, a squared. So that's 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, which is a squared to the 5th. So 3 to the 5th is 243 times a to the 10th. So 243 a to the 10th. Okay. The other one I have is 6 to the 4th to the 5th power, which is really like saying 6 to the 4th times 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 6 to the 4th. Or I could just say 4 times 5, which gives me 20, which is 6 to the 20th power. You can leave it like this when they're big like this. You can still multiply it out. If you were to multiply it out, okay, so if you were to multiply it out, 6 to the 20th power, I can show you how to do it on a calculator. So here's my calculator. So I have 6, and then this little caret button, and then 20, and I get that. Okay, so 3.65615844 times 10 to the 15th, so it becomes a scientific notation number. Okay, so when they're big like that, it probably just makes sense to leave them there. All right, so you have 6 try-it problems, so go ahead, pause the video, do the try-it problems, and when you're done, come back and we will go over them. All right, so the first try-it problem I have is 2 to the 5th squared. Okay. So really it's like saying 2 to the 5th times 2 to the 5th, but we learned that shortcut. 5 times 2 is 10, so 2 to the 10th. So you can leave it as 2 to the 10th, or you can multiply it out, which gives you 1024. So 2 to the 10th or 1024. Okay, letter B is W to the 4th to the 6th power. Which is really like saying 4 times 6. 4 times 6 is 24. So I have W to the 24th power. Letter C, slightly more complicated. We got a couple more we're dealing with. So I have 3 squared cubed squared. Okay, so letter C, come over here and do that one. C is 3 squared cubed squared. So I'm going to take the first one, which is 2 times 3, right? 2 times 3 gives me 6. Okay, but then I have to square that. So 6 times 2 gives me 12. So I get 3 to the 12th power, which is also the same thing as saying 531,441. Okay. So 3 to the 12th or 531,441. So either of those answers would be acceptable. Okay. Letter D is 8b to the 9th squared. Okay. So D, 8b to the 9th squared. So remember I'm distributing this 2 to everything on the inside, so this becomes 8 squared b to the 9th times 2 power. 8 squared is 64. 9 times 2 is 18. So I get 64b to the 18th. Okay. Letter E is 6x to the 5y11 to the 4th. Okay? Let's go with this one. All right, so this is really saying I'm taking all this and I'm multiplying it by itself 4 times. So I'm going to distribute this 4 to the 6. So I get 6 to the 4th. I'm going to distribute it to the x as well. Okay. So 6 to the 4th. Gives me 1,296. Okay. Then I'm going to multiply all this. So I distribute 4 times 5y to the 11th. Well, 4 times 5 gives me 20, right? So I get x to the 5 times 4, y, and then there's also, the 11 is also an exponent. So 4 times 11, which gives you 44. So I get, okay, 1,296, x to the 20th, y to the 44th power. Okay. I know that one was like a little more complicated than what you're used to. X to the 20th, y to the 44th power. Okay. So then I have f. I have negative 5w squared z to the 8th cubed. So all of that is cubed. So I'm going to come over here to my workspace. Notice it's really nice to have that workspace. That's why I give you that blank page to work on. Okay, so I'm distributing this 3 into everything inside. So this becomes negative 5 cubed. Make sure you have that negative 5 in parentheses. Otherwise, it gives you a different answer. Okay? W is 2 times 3, z to the 8th times 3. Okay? Negative 5 cubed is really negative 5 times negative 5 times negative 5. That gives you negative 125. 2 times 3 is 6. And then 8 times 3 is 24. So my final answer is negative 125, w to the 6th power, z to the 24th power. Okay. So that is the end of Chapter 1, Lesson 4. Tune in next time for Chapter 1, Lesson 5.